Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mellissa Thomas of Florida National News, coming to you with the FNN Politics and Power series, just as promised. It is a Tuesday and it is 1 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for tuning in. And today we're going to be interviewing former Orange County Commissioner Pete Clarke. He was the commissioner for District 3 in Orange County. Florida National News actually has had the pleasure of interviewing Commissioner Clarke several times. And now that he is running for District 3 one more time, we wanted to make sure to have that conversation with him, find out what his thoughts are on the overall evolution of Orange County, what his vision is for Orange County going forward, and of course, his thoughts on the national topics of the day, aka COVID-19 and the George Floyd murder. So without further ado, I'm going to give you guys a quick overview for those of you who may be watching from other parts of the world, who may not be familiar with Florida politics and may not be familiar with who Commissioner Pete Clarke is. So this is a gentleman who lives and breathes Orange County. He lives and breathes Florida. He went to Boone High School here. He attended college at Rollins, actually, in Winter Park. He attended multiple colleges. He has multiple degrees. He has an undergrad as well as 2 master's degrees. So hey, props. Education is key. He did actually better than me. I have a bachelor's and master's. He has 2 masters. He got his undergrad, his bachelor's degree in marine biology from the University of West Florida. And while working for the state of Florida at the Orange County Health Department and later Orange County government's Health and Family Services Department, he earned his master's degrees in education and public health from Florida State. And he got his degree in management from Rollins. So one way or another, Florida is in his blood. He also gave his military service in the Florida Air National Guard, and he is the son of folks in the military service. So he has traveled all over the world as well. So this is someone who is very familiar with the uniform, with service, and with the community. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Commissioner Pete Clarke. Welcome to the conversation, Mr. Clarke. Thank you so much for being on. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you, and it's certainly good seeing you again. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise. So first, let's start with the the COVID-19 conversation. How have you and your family been during this pandemic? Is everyone healthy and safe? Let's start with that.
That's a really great question to start with, and we appreciate your concern. And we've been very, very lucky. We've really tried to practice, the distancing and making sure where we go we're masked up, and we're coming out of our shell a little bit. And I just don't want to be responsible for anyone in my family being ill or anyone else being ill. And so far so good. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, we've seen a little spike in the cases, but we haven't seen an increase in hospitalization. So that's the good and the bad of it. As long as the hospitalizations remain lower, then we're good. But thank you for asking. That's a very kind question. Very, very kind question.
Absolutely. So, kind of you touched on it a little bit there, but yeah, give us your thoughts on how you've seen Florida reopen, as a state in that sort of phased process. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm delighted to see the small businesses have a chance to reopen. I have dear friends who are probably going to lose their business. And, one for sure, one hopefully can survive a while longer and wait till the tourism picks up a bit. But, it's devastating to the small business. So if we can get those cranking up, that's what we really need to do. So focus on that. The big groups, the sporting events and all the rest and so forth, we need to just wait and see on that. I think it's far too early to put those kind of crowds together. But let's focus on small business. Let's get them working again. And let's focus on getting some of the tourism attractions going very carefully, though. I mean, very, very carefully. They'll really need to watch what they're doing. And just as an observation, I play in a band, and I have friends that play in bands. And one played 2 weeks ago on a Saturday night at a local establishment, and they almost wanted to leave because of the lack of social distancing and the closeness of the crowd. And so we need to watch that. I mean, that's one thing we really, really need to stay on top of is the owners who have been given this opportunity now to start recovering. They need to keep in mind that what they do affects the health of all of us.
Got you. That makes sense. So, talk a little bit about your thoughts on the rollout in terms of the, the unemployment situation that was going on at the state level, folks who had lost their jobs, who were forced to close some of their businesses. Talk about what your thoughts are on that a little bit.
I don't know who programmed that for us, but we need to have a serious discussion with them. It's I have friends that made it through the system actually fairly early on and fairly easily. Then I have some that just got mired in this in the situation, and I think that perhaps some more assistance should have been made available as far as having people. Because we have kind of a user system here in Florida. It's like it's a user get on and you go through the process, and it's hard enough when it's that one-time incident, but when you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cases, yeah, you can expect maybe some system snafus, but you don't want total crashes. Hopefully they've got that remedied to some degree, but in 8 weeks and how many weeks when it runs out, where are we going to be then? Here we go. Those folks are going to be hurting. And so we need to see what the federal government's going to do. And again, what can they do? 3 trillion here, 3 trillion there. I mean, we just can't keep printing money. We need to get the economy going. We need to get these folks, some of these jobs that are available, they may not pay much, but at least they pay something, and at least get something going until we can get ourselves out of this. And it's going to be a struggle, I think. It's going to be a struggle, but the system in Florida it needs to be absolutely revamped.
Got you. And given the steps that the governor has taken so far, he had brought in folks from other agencies. They revamped the system in the midway into it. What specific other steps do you feel he needs to do to improve it?
I don't think he can do much more than he's doing now. You can't just throw it out because then you have nothing.
Right.
So
in
these big systems, you try to patch as best you can and find the weak spots and do some program development to fix it. But when the time comes, that it's business as usual, so to speak, then that's when they need to see about creating another system, running parallel, and I think just get out what they got, or it's kind of an embarrassment actually.
Gotcha.
But I think he's doing everything he can, something he inherited, and there's no excuse when you're in politics. You own it once you raise your hand, you own it, and I think he's tried to own it and try to get through it.
Gotcha. Now jumping over into kind of transitioning into your foray into politics, given that you are someone who is Florida through and through, Florida raised, kind of talk about how you transitioned from your various degrees, because we're talking about marine biology into management. Kind of talk about how you first got into politics.
Yeah, I wish I'd used that degree, but anyway, the biology helped out, but through public health and epidemiology and those things. But when I retired from Orange County, I was young. I was younger than I am now, of course, but I was pretty young. I went to work for community health centers, which was a lot of fun. Just what a great organization. But I was still involved in the community, and what I found is, when you're kind of outside the loop, people don't call you back as much. So I was literally, I played golf. I went down to the local restaurant, solve the world's problems. But I was literally sitting on my bed playing the guitar, and I said, I bet if I ran for a county commission seat, people would call me back. And that was my rationale for it. So I ran in 2010. I got creamed. It was bad. It was terrible. Knowing a lot of people and trying to be charming doesn't get it. It's hard work. I learned, and then when the opportunity came in 2012 to run again, I learned my lesson, and we worked extraordinarily hard, and we won by like 70 votes and got back 70%. But that was the reason, is I wanted to continue to do things in the community, and I wanted to be able to have the ability to get with people that can make a difference, and not have to call 20 times, but maybe just call a couple times, and at least have the chance to sit down with them and talk about it and see what we could do to look at some of those issues that like homelessness and mental health and trafficking and those things that we tend to kind of not talk about a lot. And I think we're talking about it more now, but so that was actually the impetus, because I wanted to be able to get more done. And so there I am.
All right. And we're going to get a little bit more into that conversation in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back.
this time we fought side by side. We trained together. We lost together. And now, you're the only one standing in my way. It's been a while, old friend.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Politics and Power, FNN Politics and Power. We are here with former Commissioner Pete Clarke, who's currently running for his seat, 3rd District 3.
Mhm.
Thank you again so much for coming on the show. Now we want to get
Oh,
into
absolutely.
the details of, your kind of your political career and things like
Mhm.
that. So the first thing is, given your roots in the community, what have you been up to since you ran for mayor back in the midterms? Because I know you've stayed busy, like even after the election for mayor and everything. Like, what have you
Mhm.
been up to since then?
Well, what I did is I spent more time in the area of the fight against human trafficking.
Mhm.
Became chair of Florida Abolitionists. We're now United Abolitionists, and trying to kind of ramp up what we do there. And I think we're going to have some real exciting news in the future. We hope, about expanding our ability, expanding our reach, because that's just something I'm passionate about. Is that it's just such a ugly, ugly thing. It goes in the dictionary if you want to find, I can't put a word to it, so I won't even say it. Anyway. It's a total evil, the evil of the whole situation. Joined up with a friend. He has a not-for-profit called Why I Count, and we're working on bullying issues, and that's through going to schools and having fun programs and talking to kids and just doing some work with them so that no one feels that just because they may look different from someone else that it means that they're not as good as everybody else. And it's really kind of a powerful program. And then kind of stumbled into one. It's an outfit called Valor Canine,
Mhm.
and we adopted a dog. And then I went out there and I'm going on their board. They want me to be board chair. They
Wow.
do service dogs for military veterans, and they also do dogs for kids suffering from autistic disease and some others autistic problems. And these dogs are trained there, and they are given to the folks for free. There's no charge. And
Wow.
when I walked out there the first day, there was this little boy from California laying on this cement floor, filthy, dirty cement. Well, it wasn't filthy, dirty, but dogs with this huge German Shepherd. And you look at it and say, "Wow, that's really cool." But that's his service dog, and he had come to take it home to California. And there was no charge to this child. So it's just one of those things that's and the guy that runs it, he's a double Purple Heart Iraqi
Mhm.
war veteran, and he does it basically to give back to his military brothers and sisters. And so that's what I'm really excited about. The whole COVID thing got us really way out of whack, as far as getting on track with that and working it. But so I've been doing those three things. Been doing a little work with Servant's Heart, delivering food and getting back in with them, and some work with the church. We've doing some big food drives, so I stay busy.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask about that because I know
Okay.
the food drives are very recent as well. But
Mhm.
how have you been able to kind of walk that line between staying safe because the COVID-19 is still
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
but
yeah.
continuing to serve in that way?
Well, yeah, it's all a matter of how careful you are, and it's all about mask, gloves, just following CDC guidelines and being practical. I mean, it's a lot of common sense in this.
Hmm.
And when we pick up the food, um, basically I just back up to this warehouse door and they chunk it down to me. I throw it in the back of my truck. Well, not quite that bad, but they hand it to me and I put it in the back of the truck. And we do have contact, but everybody is being very, very respectful, of what's going on. And when we deliver it, same thing. Everybody's all, because I deliver it to a community, and so they're all gloved up and masked up, and we try to really make sure that we social distance and we get it
Right.
to them. So it's very prescriptive how I try to do, when I go out is I make sure that I'm not the cause of anything. I certainly don't want to do that.
Right.
I've never really been affected by viruses that much. I've never had the flu. I've never, knock on wood here.
Good.
So I don't want this one because a friend had it. He said, it's not good. He said, it's not good at
No.
all. But I don't want to be the cause of anybody else getting sick, especially my family. So been very, very careful. And if you do that, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. But you got to rely on others too. And
Right.
the thing is, where we go, they're very strict about, who's there, the health and, the temperature and how you feel. And so it's just doing what you need to do right now, to make sure that you're not the cause of someone getting sick. And so it's just it. Be careful. And, I think my fingerprints have gone. I've used so much hand sanitizer. I think they're gone now. So I don't know. But I've been washing that and, so it's all good.
Got you. And kind of along those lines, one of the things that you've always prided yourself on previously, while you were commissioner from, 2012 until you ran for mayor is being accessible. And I mean, even on your campaign website, like you put your phone number out there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of touch on that. Like, what is that? Why is that important to you specifically? And then is there ever a concern about anyone ever possibly using your information for any, nefarious purposes or even just to harass you? Like, has that ever been a concern for you?
Yeah, no, it doesn't concern me. I mean, if it happens, it's going to happen, and I can harass right back, probably the best of them. But the deal is, we at the office, we get thousands of emails, and 95% of them are somebody wanting us to buy something or their junk emails. So we focus on the constituent emails and make sure that we get out and answer those promptly. Calls come in, but there are occasions, and I'll give you one example. There are occasions when it's probably a good thing that I did that. I got a call 4th of July, 3 or 4 years ago. A woman, 3 kids, sitting on the side of, I think it was Kirkman Road, 95, 96 degrees, nothing. I mean, no food, no water. So someone who has my cell phone, they called me and said, look, here's the situation. And it was holiday. And, so I made some phone calls and we got her situated with her kids for the period we could until we get her something more permanent. But and I will tell you, people have been very respectful of that. And I just, I kind of joke and say, you just don't call me on the weekends. And they don't. I mean, they take it serious, I guess. But the calls I get, and I think, the Sentinel did an article on it 2 or 3 years ago, Steve did, and kind of relayed some of the messages I would get. And it was always about someone basically on the streets needing some help, or somebody would call me and say, look, we got this huge water spout in our street, there's a broken line or something. And, I guess my number was quicker than 311, but it was okay because I could call down there and say, look, you got this thing going on. But I will hazard a guess that over the course of the 6 years, I bet I didn't get 100 phone calls. And that's how, and because I told them also, text me too. The texting is much better if you want to.
Right.
And maybe another couple hundred text messages, but people were very respectful. And I can't recall getting someone going off on me. They'd like to do that in person.
There you go.
That's okay with me too. And it's like Churchill says, if somebody's not mad at you, you're not doing anything. So
True.
So it wasn't a big deal. It really wasn't a big deal. And I think it allowed folks who felt they really needed, to get that immediate assistance for someone, that they had that avenue. And it didn't bother me in the least. It's not all because they were very respectful.
Got you. So talk a little bit about, given how long you have been in the Orange County area in Florida, how have you seen Orange County evolve over all these years? Like from the time you were in college to where we are now, particularly in that capacity as commissioner, how have you seen the county evolve?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of traffic. I've seen that evolve.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
People call me about that. So, hey, Clark, get rid of this traffic. Yeah, I'll get right on that. But, it's to watch what happened as a community. When I was here in high school, you go anywhere, see your friends, and you'd all sit around and say, man, there's nothing to do, No, we haven't got money to go to the
Wow.
beach. Like teenagers, we were just whining about everything. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. And to a large degree, that's right. Um, but with this growth, and over the decades, what I've seen is that, and to the credit, I think, of the public officials that came before me, and then I think we had a little say in some of it, is they built a community that has something for everybody. It has arts, it has sports, it has recreation, it has things that if you can't find something to do, you're not looking. Because you can look at the paper or go online, you can find 100 things to do over the weekend,
Right.
from history to arts to sports to, whatever. And I think that we built a community that has that family piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can look at the traffic, and we can look at, highways and this and that. But, when it comes down to, the family sitting at the table on Friday night and say, well, what do we want to do this weekend? There's something for them to do. With park system, we built, I think, an incredible park system.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just proud that I had a piece of that when I was with the county, because we had parks and we bought a lot of property. We couldn't build anything. We bought a lot of property. Now it's built out. So, we land banked and it's paid off. I think we have a really incredible park system for everyone. So I think that's one plus. One thing that this community has done is made those opportunities there for families to have that piece of family life or individual life. It's necessarily family, but individuals have a place to go to recreate and do what they like to do. And now that's important. That's important.
Right. And talk a little bit, kind of a bit of a branch off of that. You're one of the things you spoken very strongly on is the rural enclaves, like these protective
Mm-hmm.
areas
Yeah.
Of green space to make sure that
Yeah.
developers don't end up, building over all the green spaces. But talk a
Yeah.
little bit about your history with that as well in terms of fighting for those areas.
Well, I went to a community meeting, and there's a development, and they said like 70 or 80 houses. And, I was think, well, this is not going to be a big deal. That's not that many. Oh my
Hmm.
God. You thought that, it was building like, condos and hundreds of thousands of condos. But what happened was that after the meeting, I started talking to the residents, and
Hmm.
this enclave is very Deese, which is kind of like a little Shangri-La in between the 417 and the roads. And you go in there and it's like, wow, this is just amazing. But what happened, and it doesn't happen now because we have public notification, but in
Hmm.
the olden days, when you wanted to find out if something's going to happen to you, you had to read all the ads in the paper. You had to go through all of the public notices. Well,
Hmm.
these folks were living, raising families, working. They didn't read in there that their land use had changed many years ago. And
Mm.
it came as quite a shock to them, and rightfully so that, like I say, it wouldn't happen today because of the notification process. And it seemed a bit unfair that, they would have to sacrifice what they thought they had because nobody really took the time to tell them. And so we started thinking, what can we do here? And it took us 2 or 3 years, almost 3 years, to go through hundreds of community meetings. Well, not hundreds, but a lot of community meetings. And there was 4 or 5 of these enclaves. And at the end of the day, what we did is we got it to a point where it was a compatibility issue, so
Okay.
that when people build, it's compatible with what's surrounding them. So we got to like 2 acres, minimum lot size, and um, we held our ground and it got approved. My understanding now is those pieces of properties have been sold in entireties to equestrian um, purposes, which
Okay.
means that nobody will build on them. So it's really good. It worked out. It was um, nerve-wracking at times, a little nerve-wracking because there's some friction, some
Right.
real friction. But yeah, if you build a home on 2 acres and it's a nice home, you're going to sell it. And the margin, I think, is, and I asked many realtors during that period, if we built a home like this, can you make your money on this? Oh my God, yes, build them and we'll sell them, in a heartbeat. So I don't think it was a detriment to the developers. I think they just wanted, to maximize, and they're in business, they're in business to make money.
Right.
But I think in this case, when you're looking at this kind of lifestyle and the impact you're going to have on folks, that you need to probably, just ratchet it down a little bit and work with them. But so we did, I think, 5 of these around the
Mm.
county. And so it kind of protects them. protects them, and along with the rural settlements, there's the 14 rural settlements. So
Mm-hmm.
those patches of green are somewhat protected, and we just need to make sure that we keep our word. That's the big
Gotcha.
thing, is keep our word so they have trust in government.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Actually, you just brought something, you just jogged my memory. We had an interview last Tuesday with State Senator Randolph Bracy, and one of the things he mentioned was the importance of constituents contacting their elected officials on a frequent
Yeah.
basis to keep
Sure.
them accountable. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Importance of,
Yeah.
of trust with
Mhm.
with the officials
Sure.
in government. So thanks.
Yep.
You touched on it a little bit, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. But what do you feel, given the evolution that you've seen, what do you feel has been the biggest improvement in Orange County? Is it, for your part, that family dynamic with, the green spaces where people get to go to parks and enjoy recreation, or is it something slightly different?
Well, I think that's a huge piece of it, but I think the other is, and we talk about public notification and what you just said, with your conversation with the senator, is that the government, I think, is now more accountable to the people.
Mm-hmm.
In the olden days, again, the government, they basically met and, they decreed and they went home. That doesn't happen now. That doesn't happen, because now we have the public meeting, the public part of the meeting where folks can come and air their issues. And I'll tell every one of them, say, well, it's not going to change my, bye bye, and I don't want to come down and do that. And I said, look, this is probably the only government forum you can walk into in 3 minutes. You can change my mind, you can change somebody else's mind on an issue. So take advantage of it, because it's not available to you as you go upstream, from local government. You can walk in that chamber and you can change our mind. And so I think that's critical. I think that's a huge improvement. When we went to the public notification, when we went to, the ability for the public part of the meetings. And so accountability of government, I think, has increased dramatically. And I think that is huge. We air our meetings, our dirty laundry out there, we gavel together.
They're live.
They're live and live at 5, so they're there. And so, people can watch it live, or they can watch it later and see, what their elected officials are doing, what they're talking about, and, how it impacts them. And if they don't like it, they'll certainly call. And I think that's good. And so I think those two things, the ability to have opportunities to relax and to enjoy and to have recreational and cultural, opportunities. But I think the government itself, in my mind, is far more accessible, far more able to, it's just accessible. It's government now as close as I think as we can be for the people. And it is a people's government. And I think we need to make sure we keep it that way. So that's not change anything, because at the end of the day, they are the bosses. And we need to make sure that we listen to them, and that, we don't impact their lives in a negative way.
Got you. And speaking of that kind of impact, what do you personally see as a point of vulnerability or improvement opportunity in Orange County right now? Like, what do you feel is the biggest pain point that you're hearing in terms of improving Orange County?
Well, we've seen it.
Mm.
I mean, we are living our vulnerability. We've talked about it. What would happen if it was this, if it was that, what would happen if all of a sudden, nobody came? And we're living it now. This is it. And it's showing that vulnerability, that to come out of this, the other sectors of our economy, I don't know if they can pull us out of it the way we need, because of just the vast number of folks that are employed in the attractions and convention. So that vulnerability has come home to roost. The TDT money, I mean, they're like $800,000 from 25 million. And, it's just the financial implications for the convention center in that area, the financial implications for government and the services they provide, is just kind of sitting there on top of the human problem of the people. What will happen, even when the attractions open, they're going to be part-time, they're not going to be as many. So we're going to have, I think, a pent-up unemployment issue. It's going to spill over to the housing issue. So our vulnerability is there. So, when you're having tough times, now you can sit there and wring your hands and say, "Oh my God," and you should, because you got to. You need to see, feel some. You're going to feel it with them, but then you need to look and say, "Okay, well, how can this change what's going to happen in the future?"
Mm-hmm.
And when I was running for mayor, I was really serious about the opportunities to train the workforce, and if we want to reduce our vulnerability, now's the time I think we go after some different industries. We go after light manufacturing, like box, and some of the ones that come in. I don't want to see smokestacks, but there's some light manufacturing and some highly skilled or higher skilled jobs that we could attract. But we have to have the workforce. We've got to have the workforce to do it. And so, what I want to do is I want to have a sit down with the school board, and gosh, I think we know the superintendent, so or the chairman, and talk about their technical colleges. Are you familiar with their technical colleges? I mean, if anybody's not, they really need to become familiar with those technical colleges, and I think we need 2 or 3 more of those. And I think we need one down the I-Drive area, so that people can do what they need to do, to move on to higher paying, higher skilled jobs. So that and if they can do that, then we can entice the industries in. So, I really want to focus on that. Is how do we get the opportunity out there, because not everybody can take out loans and and go to schools, private schools and so forth. But these are extraordinarily affordable, especially for young folks. They take Bright Futures. I mean, prepaid. I went through it, and I was just like, every corner you go through, it's like, wow, there is something here for everybody. And it had a Toyota mechanic school, for goodness sake, or Lexus, actually. Nice. When I went there, you go through, you come out a Lexus mechanic, you're gonna make some money, they'll place you. Marine welder, 6 figures, if you want to do that, you want to go down the bottom of the ocean in a suit and weld, but they'll pay you real well for it. And that's the kind of thing you can get, and so, if you've put in 8 or 12 hours, out in a hotel or somewhere, the last thing you want to do is go home and then go somewhere else. But if you can go from your workplace to a class and then go home, I think that opportunity would be much more enticing to you. So, we got the half-cent sales tax. I've seen the numbers years ago. It may be doable, it may not, I don't know, but I think it's the conversation we need to have is, how do we put it out there for these folks to be ready for the jobs that we need, the companies we need to try to entice down here.
All right, well said. And, thank you for sharing that. Now we're going to get into a little bit more conversation. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to take another quick commercial break. Okay. We'll be right back. Hold on. There we go.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Yeah, we are back. So I wanted to obviously get to the meat and potatoes question of the conversation, of course, which is, now that you are running as candidate again for District 3, what would you be doing differently this time? Like, what are your goals? What is your vision for District 3 in Orange County this go round?
Well, it's development. And when I say development, developing people and developing people for these jobs. I'm going to focus more on that. I didn't, I was involved in more of the issues they struggle with, day to day, as far as homelessness and mental health issues and healthcare. And I've done a lot of the access to healthcare, and I'll continue to do that. But I really want to get really involved in what we just talked about, is getting those opportunities in the district, because this is a small business district. We have Florida East, the hospital, Advent East, the hospital, and that's about it, for large employers. And so it is a blue collar, hardworking, small business district. And I think it's just right for some more industrial type of entities to come in and settle in, and let's get the workforce ready for it. So I'm going to really focus on that. And I'm also going to, and that comes more of a focus on the economic impact and the economics. Again, I was involved in it, but not as much as I'm going to be. I think that it's a new day, and I think that we need to have new thoughts about how our money's spent, how our government money's spent, because there's going to be less of it. There's going to be less employees, and so we're going to have to contend with that. And so how do we make sure we get the best bang for our dollars, and how do we invest it in the community to get the best bang for our dollars for our people? And now I'm going to be particularly interested in District 3 because that's where I live. That's where I've lived for a long, long time. And it's just a phenomenal district. And the people in it are just incredible people. So that's one thing that will be different, is kind of moving my focus more from you know, the human issues, I think, over to the economic issues. But I think they coalesce real nicely, because on the economic side, if we can get people's lives on the upswing, then the rest of it will decrease. And it will decrease to some degree. I'm not going to stop doing it, and I'll always be involved in that. I will be, you know, on everybody to do the right thing. But I am going to really refocus on economic issues, and because that's where we're going to be. I mean, coming out of this pandemic, it's going to be very, very difficult. And
Right.
and I was with the county in the when we had the meltdown, and we had to reduce our budgets 20%. So, you know, I know that piece of it, because I actually had to do it, you know. And so what do you do, and how do you pare it back, and, you know, how do you keep things reasonably, you know, efficient and effective? And so I think that's one benefit from my experience, is I know how to do that piece of it. But how do we do that not to the detriment of what we can do to build the community and build the economic engine we need? And so I will be really focused on what we can do to entice. Yeah, because we have favorable tax structure, we got favorable weather, we got a beautiful community. So, you know, I never really was like they were chomping at the bits, you know, to go to the C-suites and visit with these folks. But, you know, I am now. But to certain ones, you know, I'm not just anybody. I think we need to bring down folks who are good community partners. You know, in this day and age, you want companies that invest in the community. They're not just here to take from it. And I think that's the key, is that, you know, what is their history? You know, how do they work with the community? And they'll find our community, I think, is very open to that, because it's a very giving community we live in. And so that's one thing will change, and hopefully that's for the better. So.
Gotcha. And I mean, give us your thoughts on the current steps that are being taken by Orange County to kind of rebuild. I mean, there's the Economic Recovery Task Force, and given the companies that are involved in that, like, what are your thoughts on that? Would you still be having the conversation with those same companies that are involved in the current task force, or would you bring other companies in? Would you overhaul it completely? Like, give us your thoughts on that.
Well, you never throw out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, we have that's a phenomenal group of companies, you know, and they're here, they're investing in it. I mean, they're the ones who can help us entice the others here, because, you know, they'll say, okay, you know, these companies are here, they're flourishing, they will flourish. You know, they jumped in, and they, when necessary, and got in and started working on the problem. So I think that's a huge selling point too, is, you know, you don't want to go somewhere where, you know, company A's out for company A and they don't care about anybody else. I think we have, you know, unless they're fierce competitors, but, you know, everybody here, I think, is very partnership oriented. And so, no, that group definitely, I think, needs to stay together, actually. I know they work, you know, the EDC, and we have the EDC and the rest of it, but I think as a body to sit down and have those discussions, and I hope have those discussions in the sunshine so people can listen in, and hear what the thoughts are. I think it'd be important as we move forward, because we don't know right now the extent of what we're facing. I think we have no problem, no real true knowledge of just what we're facing. We don't know how many homes are going to be maybe in foreclosure. We don't know how many jobs are truly lost. You know, what the economic impact's going to be. I'm very, very fearful of those numbers. I hope I'm wrong. God, I pray I'm wrong. But I'm very fearful those numbers are going to be very high. And so how do we deal with that? You know, it's it's kind of mind-boggling. So those companies are going to be critical. But in the interim, we're going to have a lot of people that is going to need some help and assistance. And how do we get them back to work? And I don't know yet, but it's something we'll work on. I wish I had a magic answer, but without knowing the extent of the problem, it's kind of hard to fabricate something that may not be true. So
Right. And on a similar note, give us your thoughts on what you feel is a solution to the current housing crisis in Orange County, because that was an ongoing issue even before the pandemic hit.
oh,
But
absolutely, yeah.
like with the pandemic as a factor now, does that change what your previous thoughts were on how to remedy the housing crisis, or do you have pretty much a similar method to what you were discussing before it hit, like while you were running for mayor?
Hmm. The well, we've had the two task forces, and they came with up with incredibly similar solutions and thoughts, and I think some of them by and large were good. Um, but now I know that this has kind of stopped the impetus for that. But we really need to go back and look at what these two bodies came up with, and prioritize how we want to start looking at infill projects. And we're really going to have to look at tax breaks and impact fee credits or impact fee. We can't not pay them, but how do we lower the price? We got to make sure it lowers the price of the house. It's just not something, because right now they just pass it along, but if we can lower the price of the homes. But the issue is finding the property, and then getting through the compatibility issues and the not in my backyard issues and everything that comes with it. I think the power is there to do it. We have the capacity. We had the capacity to do it. Maybe an opportunity now for some of these folks to get into the construction trades again. But the need now, I don't know about the need. How many apartments will become vacant now? Once this thing really settles in, how many homes will be empty? How many homes will be on the market? Do we need to go back to like the neighborhood stabilization programs from the meltdown days? We learned a lot during those days, about foreclosures for sure. Not so much about housing crisis, but I think the first thing to do is take stock of what we got now and what we're going to be facing, until we just kind of willy-nilly go out and say, okay, we need to build a bunch of houses here and there. But let's just see, where we're at, who's impacted, and then use what we learned in these task forces, to incentivize builders. And there's ways to incentivize, and there are tax credits, tax breaks, property, maybe some breaks on some property. I'm not a land trust proponent. I don't particularly like land trusts. I don't trust them, so that's my problem. And I don't think that's an answer either, because you penalize the homeowner at the end of the day, as far as selling. But maybe not a land trust per se, but if the county has properties, and we have utilities has a lot of properties that we'd have to buy because of their bond issues. But I would think the first thing to do is come up with a land bank, and see what we have. And then I don't know if that's been done. That was one thing that I'd always proposed doing, is immediately doing a land bank assessment, see where they are, what we have, and then who could come in and start building. It could be Habitat, it could be some of the other not-for-profits. Actually, they could come in and build, for reasonable cost. So first thing is land bank. I really wish we get that done, because that's something you can do. I think it's computer programs to start with, and I don't know if they've done it or not, but do that. And then let's see in about 5 or 6 months where we're at, I think, from an availability standpoint, what's really happened out there. And, take it from there, and then look at how we can start doing these infill projects. And then we did the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units. That's good. Then, you can rent out an apartment. So that helps, that could help. But minus that, my problem, and I've been thinking through it, I've really been trying to think through it, is I don't know where we're at. I don't know, what is sitting out there now as far as is people who will not be housed. It could get tremendously
Right.
worse. So, I mean, so the thing is, my fear is it's going to get a whole lot worse. And so we may need to rethink everything. You know, how do we have this whole new group that's out of work, out of money, and out of a house or out of an apartment? And so this could get much, much worse. So we need to be ready for that and start thinking through that piece of it. What I would want to do is to really kind of get a feel. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, but there are people a lot smarter than me could probably figure that out. But we need to get there and see how we can make a plan against what's going to be the reality. And that's going to be
Right.
it's going to take some work. It's going to take some work. But,
Right. I did some research on your campaign website, and you'd mentioned on there kind of your thoughts a little bit about the Split Oak Forest vote in terms of how things turned out. So for our audience, just kind of give them the context of where that was before you resigned to run for mayor, and the current result and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I was part of the department when we bought it. Way back when we did the Preservation 2000, our department was the lead in buying that property, and so I got a little sweat equity in it. So life was good. It was a mitigation bank to a large degree for the convention center, and it's just developed over the years. It's just a phenomenal, beautiful piece of property. I don't know if you've ever been out there, but it's just so peaceful and so nice, and nobody ever thought anything would disturb it. But while I was even in office, there was some rattling from Osceola County about building something across there, not only across there but across Orange County. They want to do it way further up north and go across Orange County, and so we sent a letter saying we didn't really like that part of it. So then the expressway authorities were all combined, and so this thing was kind of festered for a little while. You didn't hear much, and then all of a sudden we needed this road to go down to Sunbridge, which doesn't exist. So it's like, where's it going? Well, there's nothing down there. Why are we building a road to nowhere? Well, there's nothing there. And besides that, again, we talked earlier about trust. So that those deals were struck. There was a lot of work went into it, and the issue was, this is a piece of property that will sit there for the people to use. It's great for equestrian. It's not active. It's very passive. And it's not like they didn't know it was there. I think that they probably knew it was sitting there all these years, and so why not plan appropriately? Why is their crisis our problem? So it's been something I've been adamantly opposed to. I think they could have done it much, much differently, and could have done it much, much sooner. And so, well, we're going to give you 1,500 acres, of this stuff over here, and now you go down and listen, and even the Expressway Authority says, well, that's about $38-40 million to get up to the point where you could actually walk on it, because it's pretty. It's not really land that can be used for anything. As part of it, I think there's some orange groves, and so was it a fair swap or a fair enticement? I don't think so. Seminole County just went through the same thing. So again, it's a matter of more than anything, it's a matter of trust to me. Again, is that we did it. It was signed, sealed, delivered. It was going to be there in violet for folks, forever. And people say, well, things change. Well, yeah, they do change, but it doesn't mean that you have to drive that change through something that you don't need to, and they never needed to do it. It's not like this is a hospital or a school, or that's different. But this is a road where someone wants to build a community for 500,000 people, and that's a lot of people. At the end of the day, that's bigger than the city of Orlando. And my fear is that when are they going to need that north-south connector? To go through we'll just put it through the edge of Split Oak. We do north-south connector now, because down to the one we just built 15 years ago. So all of a sudden, here you go. They need to protect it, and I think the CRC, the Charter Review Committee, has an item coming that hopefully would do that protection. And so when we do these things, let's keep our word. That's what it's all about. Keep our word.
Gotcha. Now, ladies and gentlemen, continue to stick around. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and this time we're gonna switch gears and talk a little bit more, on the personal end, more so speak to Pete Clarke as the person, not necessarily as the elected official.
Okay. Thanks.
It's all good. All right, so stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this quick break.
All right.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
Just like that, we are back.
Okay.
We know you are a busy man, so we don't have too much longer to go. But thank you so much for talking with us today. So
I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Awesome. So one of the things we wanted to talk about, and I ask this to every person that comes on the Politics and Power series, but talk about what motivates you, what keeps you going on a day-to-day basis, particularly on the more difficult days. Like how do you process things when they are a little more trying and it takes a little more fuel for you to go forward and continue to stick with your vision?
It's yes, that's a tough question because you're if you're committed to something, you're motivated to something, nothing really stands in your way. It may detour you for a minute. So I look at things as kind of a minor detour, and I don't get excited about. I get excited about my wife. I get excited about my God. I don't get excited about much of anything else. Maybe FSU football if they ever have a team again. But it's you got to just stay the course, and not let little setbacks deter you and get you excited. When I was younger, and I was working for a doctor, and I got excited about something one day. I was just going off the edge, and he took me in his office. He said, "Look here." I was complaining about an organization. He says, "Look, it's much easier to complain about something from the outside than it is to change it from the inside." And I always think about that. When I'm grousing about something, and it's about somebody or something or an entity, and I kept thinking, I can grouse all I want, but until I either go see them, talk to them, or do something, nothing's going to change. So what I do is I think I just take that negative energy that I just want to pounce or something, and I try to turn it to a positive energy, and then go work it out. I've been blessed. Most things have worked out. So, but when it does get taxing and trying, and there are times when you're just aggravated, about something, just aggravated. That my God, why can't they just understand what I want? What's holding them back from understanding what Commissioner Clarke wants? And sometimes you got to say, well, they just don't understand, or maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I found myself wrong, and you got to be able to contend with that too. That, oh my God, how could I be wrong? But when you are, you deal with it, and you take it professionally, you move on. So I really just try to focus on why I'm feeling that way, and then just go try to fix it. And I don't sit there for 2 hours and grouse about it or wonder about it, and I just move on, because
Right.
it doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good. And so I just and my wife, bless her heart, is a mental health therapist, so that helps.
That's very helpful. That's very helpful.
That's very helpful. That's right. Yeah. She say, "Hey, knock it off. Knock it off." I let her to death. She's like, "Knock it off." So,
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, to that point, what is to the point in terms of you moving forward and being involved in the, like, going inside and fixing things, but like, what is your favorite part about having been commissioner for 6 years? What was the most meaningful part of serving in that capacity for you?
Let me give you an example. There was a man and wife family that lived in East Orange County, and meager means. Somebody had meager means. And they have a son in New York who was dying. I mean, he literally was dying of some, I can't recall what his ailment was, but they couldn't get him down here. No, they could not get him down here. They had everything worked out except a receiving facility. And nobody would have this young man. This guy, I think he was probably like in his mid-20s. And nobody would accept him. And so, we stayed on it for, I think, about almost a year. And we finally got our friends at Advent Health to accept him. And he came down here, and about a week after he got here, we were invited over, and we went over. And that young man's smile was just like, I had to leave the room. Yeah, I had to leave the room because his smile, when his mom said, "These are the folks that got you here," he was like so happy. And we went back many times to visit with him. But looking at somebody and thinking that, because I'm a commissioner, I was able to make those calls and I was able to get that attention. That's the upside. It's I would rather, look at someone in the eye and they say, well, thank you for helping me, or thank you for not helping me, but let me know why you can't help me, than anything else. Because that's what makes it a government that I think is truly in tune with what needs to be done. I mean, we can sit at the meeting and we can, buy $1 million piece of equipment and, build sewer plants and, do everything. But at the end of the day, the beauty of being a commissioner is that call that comes in, says, I need, then you're off to the races.
Right.
And another example is this little development, Conway Acres, and they had a murder in there, a terrible murder in there. And the lady was, never mind. Anyway, so they started a voluntary association. We worked with them, and they're still going strong many years later. But when the state came in and redid Hoffner, when they 4-laned it, we said, well, what about a fence, for Conway Acres? They said, no, they did the math, they had this formula and said they don't quite make the cut, And I said, well, I got mad then. I said, well, I think the cut is probably because their homes aren't worth much. And they got mad at me then. But I said, what can we do? So we got with some folks up in FDOT, and we found $300,000, and it's still sitting there today because they just got the last signature last week. Because every property owner had to sign off on it. They got the last signature last week. They're going to get their wall, and then they're going to have as pretty a wall in a pretty community as anybody else along that brand new road. So all those picket fences and chain link fences and whatever they got will be gone, and they'll have a wall. And something like that is just it's pride in their community, and it's pride in their ownership. But what it is more than anything is it's a group of citizens who came together and banded together to do the right thing, and you were able to help them do it. So that's cool stuff, That's the cool stuff.
Got you. And that's actually a perfect transition into kind of the, my final two questions, not including the catch-all, but, give us your thoughts on, the recent killing of George Floyd, and to the points that you touched on in this interview about the public's trust in the government, in this case, in law enforcement. And what do you feel people can do going forward? What do you feel voters, protesters, folks that have the energy to take action, what do you feel the most fruitful or constructive action is going forward?
Well, I'm going to post something today. It took me quite a while to write something because, I usually can just whip something right out. I struggled with this as a child of the 60s. And I remember, my little town going in and seeing 2 water fountains, 2 bathrooms, and, you can sit here maybe. And that kind of puzzled me when I was a child, it's like, huh. And then off we'd go to Germany, and everything's great. We go to integrated schools and I say, well, this is the way it should be. And then we come back and, JFK getting killed and RFK getting killed and MLK getting killed, all right, boom, 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 and I'm just thinking, what the heck is going on here, And I think that helped form, kind of my sense of what needs to happen and what should happen. And, personally, just being as, average Joe, I try to ascribe to the fact that everybody's equal. And I never really, in those days, you never really heard much about police encounters. They didn't have body cams and everybody didn't have a phone with a, camera on it. And, now, you see everything. And if there are bad policemen, they need to go. I mean, they need to go. But I think that the peaceful protest are our rights to do what we do, just to redress our grievances to the government through protest. And it says in the Constitution, peaceful assembly. And when I was writing this thing, I didn't want to just write it as some old white guy and throw it out there, so I talked to an African American friend of mine who a little bit younger, but has been around a while too. And I said, what do we need to do? What's going on here? And he said, he thought about it. We traded some money. He said, what it may be something as simple as listening. It may be as simple as listening. So what I surmise is that, to listen, you got to hear. So we got to hear what's going on, but we can't hear it above violence. And until the violence goes away and we start hearing, then nothing's going to change. So what we need to do is to stem the violence and then listen and hear. Like we used to go through the old trainings, you probably did the military too, the receiver and the speaker, and we sit there saying, when's this going to be over? But it's so true. I mean, that was true. So I don't know, what it is to be a black man in America, but there are black men in America that can tell me, will I listen to it? Yeah, I'll listen to it. But the key is, will I hear what they're saying? Yeah, I want to hear what they're saying. And I think that's a conversation that needs to happen, because until we start hearing it, and there's always going to be groups on both sides of the equation, they're not going to care, they're not going to listen. But there's power in numbers. And until we get politicians who put the good of everybody above the good of their parties and the good of their little political aspirations, that's not going to help. So, whatever hatches are out there, they need to bury them, And let's get to the business of hearing and listening to what people are saying, and then let's do what we need to do to make that difference. There's a lot of opportunity in this country, and there's a lot of rich people who are of all colors, and that opportunity needs to be there for everyone. So, how do we create a social fabric? Over the years, is when they tore down the projects over there, on Orange Center Boulevard. Now look at that, I said, man, this is good, because that's a symbol of failure. I mean, that was an absolute symbol of failure when you build projects and you don't, build communities that everybody lives in. And there's things we need to do, and things we should have done, we haven't done. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think the biggest thing, and I think he was right. You may know a guy named David Porter. He's a friend of mine. So I asked him, and he said, listen. And I said, okay, but we got to hear it too. And so I think that's the key, is to have people who will sit down, listen to each other, hear it, and then act on it accordingly.
Well said. Now, as we wrap up here, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but is there, we've had a deep conversation, but is there anything else that you want the audience to know that perhaps we haven't discussed? Where can they find out more about you as a candidate?
Well, they go 407-376-5894.
That's his number, guys.
That's the number. Please feel free to call me if you got a question, or text me. Texting is better. I think that being a commissioner is an honor, and it's a responsibility. And I think I did both of those, I think, quite well when I was a commissioner. There's reasons I'm running. I'm not going to go into them. There are reasons I'm running. I wasn't planning on it, to be honest with you. I was not planning on running, but I'm running because of some things that happened. But I am going to, when we get back in there, I'm going to be the same accessible commissioner. I'm going to be one who will be there, and hopefully people remember that we were in the neighborhoods, we were in the community. But above all, I'm just a guy that has a wonderful family life, a great church, played in a band, got a Harley. It couldn't be better. All those things that old people like to do, get their motorcycle and all kind of stuff. I've had it for years. But I'm blessed. And the reason I'm blessed is that opportunity was there for me. And And that's the reason I try to do the things I do, is I think everybody deserves those opportunities. And I mean, they're out there, and we just need to make sure that people can get them. And is that education? Is that, whatever it is, as a government, let's be that government for them, and then let them enjoy. And the other thing is, you had a question, I think, about running for office.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Your
have
advice for folks who run.
And, if it's a reason better than mine, then you want somebody to call you back. If it's like a highway going through your neighborhood or something, stick to your guns. But be aware that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I always say, thank God for law and order. It's always on when you're up at 3 a.m. trying to figure out what you should have done or couldn't have done. So check on law and order and see what's going on. And but stay your course, and don't make it something that defines you if you lose. Just look at it like I did and say, well, what could I have done better? And then maybe like me, you'll get that chance, because I just happened to be there when they redistricted. And I woke up one day and said, oh, I can run again. So Kathy said, I don't think so. So, but she's just so great. She's so great. And be ready to do a lot of work. You'll have people taking shots at you. You'll have people looking up at everything you've ever done. And, people do stuff. Don't worry about it, because, at the end of the day, you're chasing voters, and let them hear from you. And if they like you, they're not going to worry about that. They're going to, unless it's really bad. But, they're going to listen to you and hopefully cast a vote for you. So be ready to do a lot of work, but and stay the course. And it's a very small sorority fraternity, the elected officials. And it's one to be a proud member of. And it's one that when somebody does something wrong, you feel bad for everybody, because it, kind of gives everybody a bad mark. So be ready to be above the fray. You really do have to be above the fray. And but it's well worth it. It's I can't explain how when you hear you won, it's like, uh-oh. So no, it's a wonderful feeling, and you can get a lot done. And just go do it. I advise you, if it's in your blood, you want to do it, because never wake up when you're an old person and say, I wish I'd done that.
Right.
Do it. So
awesome.
That's all I can say. So
that's actually the perfect way to wrap the show. Thank you so much again for being on. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll see you out there. See you out there in the world.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, you too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, today is a double day. It is Tuesday. So here you've watched the Politics and Power series. I will be back this afternoon with the evening news rundown at 5 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to tune in at 5 p.m. for that. And of course, since it is Tuesday, our lovely Jamesia Stoudemire will be here with us from Los Angeles with the Entertainment 4 for 4 today. So hopefully see you then. And, until then, take care and have a great rest of your Tuesday.